Welcome to the 10th anniversary celebration of the Val de Vie Foundation. We've got a varied and interesting program for you this evening, and we're planning to have all of the formal presentations completed by 7:30. This will allow you a final 30 minutes to have a look at the exhibitions, to speak to the exhibitors, and to chat to friends before we close out the event at 8 o'clock and close the ballroom. I'm first going to ask our HIA Chairman, Fred Swanepoel, to open the formal proceedings with a brief address on behalf of the Val de Vie homeowner trustees. This will be then followed directly by a short video presentation and then an icebreaker from the Hope Through Action team. So they're going to follow directly after Fred's presentation. After this, I'll join you again, and I'll introduce our panel for a three-way discussion on the origins of the Val de Vie Foundation. But first, over to Fred Swanepoel.
It's a really momentous occasion. You know, we're celebrating that 10 years ago, a vision took shape. One that I would classify as a vision that was bold, generous, and more importantly, humane. Martin Venter had a vision to create a better life for all in Paarl and the Franschhoek valleys, the place where we have the privilege to call our home. His belief was simple, but the impact is profound. Now, to all of us, you know, success is not about accumulation, but it's more about contribution, not about wealth, but we think about compassion. It's about the lives we touch, the change that we leave behind. Those are the important things. The strength of a community does not lie in its wealth, but in its willingness to uplift others. Tonight, as we mark a decade of the Val de Vie Foundation, we don't stand here to celebrate an organization, but rather the idea. The idea that hope can be built, that dignity can be restored, that change, when done with heart and purpose, can last for generations. I'm a techie, so I follow the techies, and Steve Jobs once said, if you're working on something exciting that you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. The vision pulls you. That vision has pulled us into something bigger than any one of us. It calls on us to do more than invest money. We should invest belief. We need to do more than give our time. We need to build trust. We walk beside our beneficiaries and the communities we are privileged to serve. Since 2015, through the generosity of the Homeowners Association of Val de Vie, the foundation has invested more than 50 million into education, entrepreneurship, community upliftment, transforming lives, building futures, and reminding us that success is most meaningful when it is shared. Education remains a cornerstone of progress, and it's something that's so sorely lacking in our country. It's the bridge between what is and what can be. When a child learns to read, a future begins to unfold. Also, when a young entrepreneur is given an opportunity, a family's whole story or history can change. When a community stands again, hope stands with it. Communities thrive not by accident, but through care, through collaboration, commitment, and where resources are shared, programs are sustained, and that opportunity then belongs to all. We know the Foundation's work is not just about charity. It's about creating conditions where everyone has a fair chance to flourish. Through the Foundation, our community invests in the communities around us in two ways. The first is through direct investment, as part of residents' hearts, channeling support into neighboring communities and projects that our residents care deeply about. The second channel is through Nation Builder. They are here tonight, previously known as Val de Vie, our long-standing social investment partner, and a partnership proudly maintained for nearly 9 years now. Nation Builder, importantly, ensures that every rand, every hour, and every act of kindness is channeled with purpose, with accountability, and care. Through close relationships, continuous monitoring, and transparent reporting, they help ensure that our support leads to measurable and lasting change. Our collaboration with organizations across the valley, from schools to skills academies, social enterprises, and NGOs, has shown what is possible when we build together. In the past 10 years, we have walked alongside organizations such as Hope Through Action and the Kula Development Group, both of which have been beneficiaries of the foundation since the beginning. Their work reminds us that real change happens one person, one story, one opportunity at a time. As President Truman once said, it's amazing what you can achieve if you don't mind who gets the credit. That's the spirit that drives the Val de Vie Foundation: collaboration without ego and generosity without expectation. Making a difference doesn't always require changing the world. Rather, sometimes it's simply changing someone's world. A mother can now feed her family because she has a job. It's a student who can dream beyond circumstance because someone believed in her potential. It's a child who walks into a classroom for the first time and realizes that possibility also has a name. These are the stories we celebrate tonight. Not statistics, but lives we've touched, potential unlocked, and hopefully futures rewritten. Our work is definitely not done. The next decade will call us forward to keep investing where it matters most: in people, partnerships, and most importantly, purpose. We cannot thrive as a community if we are surrounded by hopelessness. We cannot flourish within the walls of privilege while the need stands outside our gates. Robert Ingersoll once said, "We rise by lifting others." So tonight, I invite you, our residents, partners, and friends, to rise with us. If you're not already, get involved, and also, if you are, stay engaged. Bring your skills, your ideas, your resources, and your heart, because each of us can make a difference, and together we can make change. 10 years ago, one man's vision started something extraordinary. Tonight, we honor that vision and the collective effort that sustains it. So on my part, here's to a decade of giving, here's to a future of hope, and here's to a community that understands that the greatest joy in life is knowing you've made a difference to someone else's. Thank you.
Before Val de Vie Estate was a community, it was a quarry. But with the right people and a clear vision, it grew into something more, a place for people to live whole and active lives. But that vision didn't just stop at the gates. It extended into the community through the launch of the Val de Vie Foundation 10 years ago. And once again, we partnered with the right people.
My name is Stefan Howells.
My name is Dalian Labeskachni.
My name is Luyanda. Surname is Ndwana.
My name is Alicia Grindlin. I am the CEO of MCM Miklat.
Miklat turned my life around from gangster to community hero. Working at Miklat gave me the opportunity to contribute in 3 focus areas: nutrition, as an assistant in the educational department, and learning new skills in the recording studio. Thank you, Val de Vie Foundation, for your generous contribution into our educational area.
And once again, The vision was to help people live whole and active lives. Through multiple education programs, such as working with our at-home learning program,
It's a unique project and an amazing project that reaches out to provide children with opportunities to learn outside of school. The problems within education are not going to be solved by the school alone, but by the community around it. The Val de Vie Foundation played a leading role in collaboration with a number of other NGOs. Hope Through Action was selected as the lead partner to take the at-home learning program into the future.
Na skool het 'n ekstra impak op die kind se akademies, nie op die kind se akademies, maar geestelik fisies.
that includes building 6 new classrooms for learners who are studying in asbestos-filled buildings. But it's not just about education. Part of living a whole life means living a healthy life. So the Val de Vie Foundation provides patients with extreme drug-resistant TB with fresh vegetables.
I couldn't eat normal food except for vegetables. I don't know what I would have been without the vegetables.
And using sport to change the lives of children in the community.
We use the football as a tool, but what we are expecting to build a person.
Because it's not just about getting kids active. It's about building confidence on and off the field, helping them to become productive citizens.
I am the person that I am now because of sport.
Through all these programs, Val de Vie Foundation is showing that it's more than just a community. It's part of the community.
Through love and education, we can make a difference.
Because every kid deserves a better future.
Val de Vie Foundation. A better life for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Luyanda Ndwana, the mentor of the At-Home Learning Program in Franschhoek. I'm going with my opponents in Franschhoek. The icebreaker, I am going to lead and you are going to follow with my team. We'll try 3 different careers that we know are involved with you. Are we ready? Yes. Are we ready? Yes. Ba, 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 bidili, ba.
Right, thank you very much. Now that we're all awake, I'm going to ask our 3 panelists to join us up front, and while they're getting them seated, I'd like to introduce you briefly to them. Our first panelist is Philip Green, CBE. Philip has an association with South Africa stretching back to the 70s. He met Martin and bought his first property on Val de Vie about 20 years ago. And his home was one of the first homes to be built on the Berg River in phase 1. In addition to an illustrious business career on various boards in Europe and acting as an advisor to the Prime Minister David Cameron's government, Philip has a long association with charitable work in Africa. At the request of King Charles, Philip assisted Prince Harry in the Sentabali charity in Lesotho and was chairman of its board of trustees for some time. Philip, together with his wife, founded the Hope Through Action charity in the Drakensberg area in 2004. Philip was made a commander of the British Empire by Queen Elizabeth II in 2014 for his contributions to business and to charitable work in the UK and South Africa. Please, if you'd join us. Our second panelist is Martin Venter. Martin needs little introduction in this company, being the CEO and founder of the Val de Vie group of companies. It's Martin's vision and dogged persistence in pursuing his vision over many years that generated the state which we're all enjoying this evening. Important in the context of this evening's function, though, is Martin's decision to create and provide the seed capital for the Val de Vie Foundation from a percentage of all of the developer sales on the Val de Vie estate. Martin, if you'd please join us. And rounding out our panel this evening is Ryk Neethling. Ryk will already be known to most of you as the marketing director and a shareholder in the Val de Vie group of companies, and the ongoing brand and recognition which Val de Vie enjoys locally and internationally is a testament to Ryk's work. In addition to his sporting and business success, Ryk has a long association with charitable work, including having served as CEO of the Princess Charlene of Monaco Foundation, an ambassador for Laureus Sports for Good Foundation, and the Hope Through Action charity, among others. Good evening, gentlemen, and thank you for joining us. To get the ball rolling, I'd like to direct a question to Martin, and I'd like to ask him about what the catalyst, what was the seed that saw you committing the Val de Vie group to the Val de Vie Foundation?
Thanks, Stephen. So I think to start off with, initially with a vision for Val de Vie, what was important for me was to create a successful community and a gated estate like Val de Vie. It's very important. I think one of the primary principles to keep in mind, and that's count anywhere in the world where you do that. One of the critical success factors to understand that you can't create a successful community living on an island surrounded by a sea of poverty. I think that was the basis of the vision when we started out with Val de Vie. So my partners and I think what we decided initially was we just see ourselves as, and by the way, we appreciate all the kind words and all of that, but it also serves as an inspiration for us to do that we can do much better, and we want to take it absolutely to the next level with the new development that we're going to do in Paarl as well. But thank you for all the kind words, and I think the important thing to understand is that one has to make things sustainable. Sustainability is basically the key word, and you cannot be sustainable if you do things where everything revolves around one or two or three people. Yes, there's always key people who take the lead in doing certain things and implementing visions. But it's like I said, and I see a few faces here, Colin and all of you who's been here for the past 20 years. You might remember that I said to the first AGM that we had at Val de Vie for the Homeowners Association, I said that we can build the most fancy buildings on earth and we can spend a lot of money and create nice things, but in the end it's about the people. And so we see ourselves as creators of platforms. And luckily for us, then we met a lot of wonderful people like Lorraine and Ivan, and a lot of you are here tonight. And those people are the people who actually raised this child, the Val de Vie Foundation. And I really want to give a big hand to them. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have been where we are with the Val de Vie Foundation.
Thank you, Martin. Philip, I'm sure a number of our residents and myself are wondering what inspires a man with substantial business responsibilities in the UK to involve himself with charitable work in Southern Africa to the extent which you have?
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure and a privilege to be here. I'll keep it quite short because Martin normally takes most of the time. But I was privileged to come here. Well, I first came in June 1976. And as students of South African history, that was quite a significant month. And I was actually in Soweto in June 1976. But in the 1990s, I came on business several times. I then brought what were then teenage girls into the Berg River Valley, and we decided we wanted to make a contribution. We first went to Mbokweni in 99, 2000, around that time. We found what we thought was a little old lady in a shack with 20 kids. What you'd see now in that same site is an educare centre with a couple of hundred kids following the Montessori syllabus. And out of that flowed our 3 community sports and education centres around this area. But no, it was a desire to put something back because we've had such enormous pleasure here. I would actually also echo what Martin said. I think, yes, he deserves the credit, and he gets it, for the vision. But he also deserves credit for finding the people who actually do the work, particularly Lorraine. I mean, extraordinary effort they've made over 10 years.
Yeah, and then to Rake, nothing exists in a vacuum, and the foundation exists inside a greater network of contributors looking to improve life in the Drakenstein area. I'd be interested to hear from you how the foundation links into the local as well as possibly regional and global framework of charities and giving.
I spent 12 years in America, and I decided to come back, and this is just on a personal note, and I think one of the incredible things about living in South Africa is that every person can make a difference. So I think it's a privilege to be able to give back. And like Martin said, we've got incredible partners. I think our partnership with Valcare that turned into Nation Builder, it ties in with that sustainability. And yeah, we've got people that support us from all over the world. And I think what I'm very proud of as well is that we've had people from all over South Africa, big developers that have flown here actually multiple times to come and understand how the foundation works. And it's a model that they want to replicate in other places in South Africa. So once again, I think Val de Vie, obviously with what you see out here, was world leading and groundbreaking, but also the foundation, the whole model of it was also groundbreaking, and like Martin said, I think it's something that we want to expand on. So yeah, so not just in developing property being groundbreaking, but also with the foundation.
I think keeping an eye on the time, I'm going to ask an open-ended question to the 3 of you, and there have been a lot of people who've asked this evening, where in your opinion, and what in your opinion are the areas where residents can really become involved in supporting the work and supporting charitable causes in the valley?
It can be as small as just volunteering your time. It doesn't mean that you have to come stand up here, do speeches, raise money. It is just giving a little bit of your time. It can be as little as that. And the difference that you make, when I go to these projects, I feel a little bit guilty because I feel like I gain more than what I give. I'm inspired. It puts my feet on the ground. It gives me perspective. Any problem that I might be dealing with, it puts it into perspective. So there are so many different opportunities. You see all the programs here to give extra lessons, extra classes, sports coaching. There are really programs for every type of passion that you might have, and I really encourage people. It is a world. The opportunities and to see the smiles on those kids' faces, it really is inspirational. So there's a lot of opportunity, and I really implore all the residents just to give it a shot, or just come on a tour when we go to these facilities. We do them quite often, and it really is a good experience.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Somebody said to me this morning, I'm sorry, I can only give you a small amount of money. And nobody should say that, because any contribution is appreciated. And yes, money is important, let's be clear. We need the money to do the stuff we do. But there are also many other ways of making a contribution, big and small. And I mean, I was going to say it at the end, but I'll say it now. I mean, anybody is welcome to come and see our work and then determine how he or she thinks they can make a contribution. I mean, the foundation, yes, they give us some money, but they do an awful lot else as well. And we're aligned very much on values. They provide skills, they provide resources, they provide counsel, support, lots of different things, which individuals as well as the foundation are able to do. But, you know, let's be very clear, organizations such as Hope Through Action need help, but it comes in lots of different shapes and sizes.
I'd also just like to say that, you know, that volunteering, it's actually lost my train of thought now. But that's the one thing that we really struggle with the foundation, is for the residents to really, you know, take ownership. We all know that there are people out there with a passion for kids or sports, and we see that they do their, you know, their program on a very small scale. Please come to us. Please come to the foundation. We will amplify that. Like Martin said, we are a platform. We can focus for a month or a quarter just on that charity. You know, bring your ideas, your energy to us, and if we all work together, we can connect you with some other, you know, charities, and with that teamwork, we can do much greater things.
Can I just say one last thing? I mean, many of you probably already do this sort of stuff, but if you haven't been into the townships and you haven't added value in some way, you might be surprised the level of satisfaction, pleasure, enjoyment you get from it. I mean, I often say, I mean, you heard all that stuff about my corporate career, but I've got, apart from bringing up 2 girls, I've had no greater satisfaction in my 72 years than my involvement with Hope Through Action. And I say that, you know, without hesitation. It's been, and that's for the privilege, the blessing, the enjoyment that I personally have had. And, you know, it's there for all of us to make a contribution.
Through your involvement with the foundation, each of you must have come into contact with some really interesting people and situations across a wide social spectrum. If you cast your mind back, I'm sure people would be interested if you'd be willing to share the 1 or 2 standout items that you have. So in closing, if you'd maybe give us a reflection on that 1 or 2 standout items that you recall from your involvement with the foundation.
So the interesting thing is, what I found was that, and I think that's the mistake that everyone makes when they start out the foundation, is that you just think you must raise money in order to do things. The biggest challenge, in my view, in any NGO or charity or any foundation, is always to get the money that you, to get it to the right place, and for it to being spent in exactly the right spots. And the other thing is the costs relating to implementing those projects. Because, believe it or not, but the irony that I discovered within the first few years was, I think some of the biggest crooks on earth, you find them in NGOs. It's unbelievable. It was really an eye-opener for me to see how many crooks there are in NGOs all over the earth. It's unbelievable. And I think, so that was also why it was such a blessing when, Ivan, where are you? I saw you earlier, I haven't greeted you yet, but I saw you here. But where's Ivan? Has he left? Oh, okay, yeah, you see, he's busy, exactly, that's my point. He's busy with operational stuff, with the critical stuff on ground level. And the big thing is to make sure that those projects that you fund, that you really address the need properly, and that you do it in a sustainable way, and that you make sure that the people that's implementing those projects don't take all the money. Because it's many of these charities and foundations that you read about and you see, you know, personally, I don't see the money being spent in the right places. I see people driving around in vehicles and earning salaries, but I don't see the money getting to where it needs to be. And I think that was one of our biggest focus points. And that's also going back to what I said earlier, why it's so important to get the right people, the Lorraines, the Ivans, and all of them, there's lots of you sitting over here tonight who's involved and who deserves a lot of credit with regards to what I'm saying now. But really, that's the essence of creating sustainability for any foundation. And I think we are very lucky in Val de Vie Foundation's case to have all these wonderful people involved, and partners, Philip and everyone that we see here tonight.
Just picking up on this, how the money is spent, which I think is critical in any charity. I can look anybody in the eye and say, if you give us 100 rand, 100 rand of that goes into program delivery. We have no overheads, nobody drives cars. Most of the people that do a lot of the work are volunteers and get paid nothing at all. And we work with our operational delivery partner, SCORE, who certainly don't drive around in fancy cars. So, but quite seriously, he's barely got a car. I mean, but being very serious, if you give us 100 rand, all of that goes into delivering programs. Secondly, and joking aside, I think Rake and Martin and Lorraine and the rest of the team have done a fantastic job, and it does make this a difference for the estate, as well as making a big impact on the community. In terms of what would I say, just to wrap up, I would say I believe we all have a moral obligation to do something in the communities where we live, all over the world, but including South Africa. And most of you do that already. But there's always an opportunity to do more, and I would encourage you to do that. In a small way, in a big way, whatever suits you. And just in terms of hope through action, if any of you ever want to get involved in any way, just please let us know. The door, you'll be kicking at an open door. And thank you for coming this afternoon.
Thank you for joining us and for sharing your thoughts and the personal insights. I'm sure we could have spent a lot more time listening to that. But we only have time for so much this evening. While you take your seats, I'm going to introduce our next presenter. An enormous amount of the energy behind the Val de Vie Foundation goes to a name that you've heard a couple of times already this evening, and that's Lorraine Hadfield. Lorraine and her husband Tim returned to South Africa in 2014 after a stint in the US where she held a senior position with the Nielsen Company. Lorraine also brings with her extensive marketing experience from her time as a marketing director with Pillsbury, with Enterprise Foods, and with Tastic. We've been very fortunate to have Lorraine as a homeowner advisor to the foundation since its inception in 2015, and its launch to the HIA members in the same venue the following year. During the last decade, Lorraine has worked with the foundation to craft its mission, its vision and strategy, and has been fundamental in setting up its communication platforms and the First Foundation website. In addition to liaising with the various beneficiaries and beneficiary organizations, Lorraine has coordinated the direct efforts of a number of residents who've chosen to become personally involved in various initiatives through the Residents' Hearts Group. So the Residents' Hearts Group is a group of residents doing direct, hands-on charitable work together with her. This evening's function to showcase the work of the foundation has been put together by Team 10, effectively a group coordinated by Lorraine and comprising Val de Vie marketing and a team of residents with a passion for the work which the foundation supports. If you could please welcome Lorraine to the dais.
Good evening, and a very special warm welcome to all our residents and our friends here tonight. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Coach Andre du Toit, who is Klapmuts 7's Tournament Director. We are very proud to have the Val de Vie Foundation play an invaluable role in the growth and success of this flagship Boerland Under-13 Rugby Sevens tournament since 2017. Now, I must tell you privately, I've never been a big rugby fan. It's been my sister, and she found it quite ironical that I'm spending a lot of time at rugby matches, particularly at the Clubfoot Sevens. But you might ask me, well, how did it start? It started in 2017 with a request from Ronnie France, who was the then principal at Clubfoot's Primary. And he sent us an email and he said, we have this vision, we would like to start this under-13s sevens tournament and basically cover the Boerland. And we've got a field and we've got a lot of assets. And so the first one we would just ask for is a klein aantal lekkers, né? How's my Afrikaans? And we said no. We said no. We said we like your idea so much that we will work with you to help the story that we have today. So before I give you our very special guest speaker, a coach who has grown to be the visionary any mentor would be proud of, we have a little surprise video that speaks for itself. Can we have the video, please?
Hello, Jason Colby here, just to the Val de Vie Foundation. Massive congratulations on the 10th anniversary. Thank you for creating a platform and a better future for everyone out there. And to Coach Andre, the Clubfoot Sevens team, primary school kids, everyone that participates in the Sevens tournament. Just want to say all the very best and everyone involved. Thank you so much for what you're doing, for making this a better South Africa, for creating opportunities for these kids to dream big and as they are there enjoy themselves and just basically encouraging with hope to show them that you're okay for them and want the best for them as well. So yeah, from my side, super excited and proud. And just to everyone that will participate in the tournament, go out there and enjoy yourselves. That's how we play this beautiful game. And like just area these people that support you and backs you. And that's why these kind of tournaments and occasions are really special. So yeah, all the very best to everyone participating and everyone that organize the behind the scenes works and anything that goes unnoticed. Massive thank you to all of you and yeah, all the very best. Share this.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andre de Toey. I'm going to do from the page tonight, but usually I speak from my head. So I think it's okay here because all the previous speakers used their their paper, so it's perfectly fine. So tonight I'm going to stand in front of you because I can't stand at the back because otherwise you can't see me. So yeah, it's a great honor for me to stand here tonight to celebrate a remarkable milestone, the Val de Vie Foundation 10th anniversary. On behalf of the Clubfoot Sevens tournament community, the Clubfoot Primary School and our entire community, I wish to congratulate you, the foundation, on 10 years of purpose, compassion and impact. Our partnership began in 2017, and from that moment the Val de Vie Foundation became more than just a sponsor. You became a partner in purpose, a pillar of hope, and a friend to our community. Shared values. We share the same belief that through unity, compassion, and opportunity, we can create a better life for all. Clubfoot Primary is a no-fee school with more than 1,500 learners, and for many of our children, the school is a cornerstone of the community, a place of safety, growth, and dreams. When we started the Clubfoot Sevens tournament, our goal was simple but ambitious: to establish a rugby sevens tournament that would become the best in the Boerland and ultimately the best in the Western Cape. With Val de Vie Foundation by our side, that dream became reality. Today, the Clubmates 7 stands proudly as the flagship under 13 Sevens tournament in the Western Cape. Each year, 16 schools and 192 players, wow, participate in this event. And thanks to the Val de Vie's incredible support, we are able to create a day that feels special to them. A day of pride, excitement, and hope for those young players, most of whom from disadvantaged communities. The foundation provides meals for more than 300 people on the day of the tournament. A gesture that goes beyond generosity. It's an act of humanity. The tournament gives our town an incredible sense of pride. To host such a prestigious event in our own backyard. It provides opportunity for community to come together, united behind the 12 young players selected to present our school. It has built a shared vision and a common goal, providing that through sport, communities can grow stronger together. For Clubmates Primary, it has been an opportunity to be pioneers, showing other schools the power of partnerships with, and networking with institutions like Val de Vie Foundation. It has inspired other schools to start similar initiatives and to see sport as a bridge between education, opportunity, and social change. For the young people, the tournament is a life-changing opportunity. It gives them a platform to showcase their talent, to catch the eye of well-resourced high schools. For one day, they get to be the center of attention, to test their courage and to prove their circumstances do not define their potential. Personally, being part of the Clubmates Primary Sevens has given me the privilege to work with an institution of excellence like the Val de Vie Foundation and to collaborate with other organizations. It inspired me to establish the Super Bros Rugby Tournament, which is now in its 6th year, helping to uplift other communities beyond Clubmates. The experience taught me that leadership is not about position. It's about service and purpose. We live in the era of the 4th Industrial Revolution, built on the 4 C's: collaboration, communication, citizenship, and critical thinking. Our partnership with Val de Vie Foundation embodies all the four. Through collaboration, we've built something lasting. Through communication, we've shared ideas and values. Through critical thinking, we've grown and innovated. And through citizenship, we've served not for ourselves, but to others. To conclude, this tournament and this partnership has always been about creating opportunity. It started with a dream. A school had a vision. The Val de Vie Foundation came on board and provided the platform. A foundation searching for worthy beneficiaries found a community with a dream. And from a simple donation letter asking for a lekker pakkie, something extraordinary was born. A community silently wished for a day when all roads would lead to their own town. And that day came with the Clubmates Sevens. A young boy wished for an opportunity to showcase his talent, and he got it. He was spotted by a high school, went on to complete his studies, and eventually signed with the rugby union. He put on the green and gold, representing his country, inspiring thousands of others to believe that dreams do not come true. do come through, sorry. That power of partnership, that is the impact of the Val de Vie Foundation, ladies and gentlemen. To Miss Lorraine Hetfield, thank you for believing in me, for your mentorship, and for your friendship. To the Val de Vie Foundation, thank you for being a lighthouse in a stormy sea, for creating opportunities for the less fortunate, and for providing that together we can change lives forever. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
So the Cheslin Colby video was not expected by Andre, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it a little bit later on. But thank you. Thank you for your inspirational words, for the work that you do in your community. I've personally seen you grow in the last 9 years that we've been involved, and I told him the other day, I said, I think that the mentee has overtaken the mentor, quite honestly. So, very well done, Andre. So it gives me great pleasure to moderate this panel. I'm now moderating a second panel of our beneficiaries. You've heard the stories of the vision and the mission and for the inception of Val de Vie Foundation, but we'd like you to hear the stories from the people that have actually benefited from the foundation, not only in terms of funding, as Martin said, but just in terms of the homeowners' support and the residents' support for each of the organizations that we work with. So I'm going to moderate this panel, and it's in 2 sections. And the first panel, we're going to normally have ladies first, but this one we're doing the gentlemen first, and then because we have 3 seats, and then we're going to save the best for last for when we have the 3 ladies. So could I please ask the 3 gentlemen to come up to the stage and take your positions, and we've all rehearsed it so we know where we're sitting. And I'd like to just introduce you to them before I give you a short resume of the organizations that they represent. So on the left we have Werner Klutter, who's the CEO of Calling Education. And if I didn't do a very good job of pronouncing your surname, I do apologize. And then we have Mayor Conradi, who's founder and CEO of Mosaic Community Developments. And on the far left is Stefan Howes, who is a director of SCORE, who's a partner of Hope Through Action, and he sits on the executive committee of Hope Through Action. So what I would like to do is start by giving a short resume of the organization and then pose questions to the panel. So Werner, Werner being CEO of Calling Education. They are our most recent beneficiary, actually, with the inception of the new school in Paarl. But Calling Education exists to provide top quality education to low-income learners, so they may lay hold of their callings. There are currently 3 calling academies, first founded in Stellenbosch in 2018, a second one in Kroonstad in 2022, and now we have one in Paarl in 2025. Calling also experiences multiple opportunities for public influence in the education sector, which we have witnessed firsthand when we went to the launch of Calling Paarl, and the support that you have from the government, from the education department, and the call was actually for more schools to be open, because we're so underserved with actually low fee paying independent schools in South Africa. So I'd like to ask you, Werner, could you please tell us more about your role and the role of Calling Education, and how the Val de Vie Foundation has made a difference through our resident and funding support.
Good evening, everybody. It's lovely to be with you. Like most people in this room, I had the privilege of attending a great school and an excellent university. Subsequently, I taught in the UK and in South Africa at leading schools. But at the end of 2015, just struck by the disparities in South African education, I resigned from my position, and with a couple of friends founded Calling Education. We researched and developed and networked in 2016 and 17, and then, like you said, founded Calling Academy in 2018 in Stellenbosch, which is a boys-only high school, and currently has got 320 learners. We've educated 3 groups. It was an extremely humble and dusty and muddy start. Really tested our resolve and our perseverance. And then, you know, as the learners started queuing up, and parents and fantastic teachers, we realized we're really onto something. We completed the building project in Stellenbosch, where the architects won the first prize in 2 international architecture competitions that really sort of put the excellence and the standard that we want to work at out there. In 2021, like you said, we started Calling Academy in Kroonstad. We did the work to start it in 2022, which was a real leap of faith. We realized we shouldn't be scaling unless we were nailing it first, but we felt that there's been enough proof that it's the right time to do that. So the Rural Free State, that school is now in its 4th year. We just completed 7 classrooms there over the past 12 months. Next year it will have its first matrics, incredibly exciting. And then this year, starting Calling Academy in Paarl was just another leap of faith. And yeah, amazing to see how people have rallied to support it. And I think, to come to the second part of your question, Lorraine, how the Val de Vie Foundation has helped. Listen, when you start a new school, it's not something you can start and close down in 2 years, right? So it's a huge risk, and there's a lot of responsibility, and you really need prudence when you do that. But there is a big step of faith. And I think when you receive support from yourselves, it does 2 things, apart from the funding and what that achieves. I'll get to that now, but it validates the mission, and I think that is so important for someone working in a space like this. You need to know that your mission is valid and it's accurate and on point. So the fact that you stepped up and said we'll support, it achieved that. Secondly, it communicates community. The way you've shown interest, Lorraine, beyond just providing the funding, but being genuinely interested in our well-being, it communicates community. We're in this together, which again is a source of comfort, you know, for whoever is leading the organization. But then to get to the actual application of the funds, the first donation that we received from you, I mean, your first year as an independent school, there's no government subsidy, so you have to really, every cent is needed to fund the operations. And then we are busy with a building project now where we are adding 4 classrooms, and the Val de Vie Foundation has kindly committed to support that as well. Obviously that's quite expensive for us, so that's a huge relief. And just to close, the sector that we're working in finding top quality solutions in the low fee education space is hungry for solutions. And I think we are now positioned, with support like yours as well, to really be a lighthouse project and a beacon to exercise public influence and really bring lasting and hopeful change to this space. Thank you so much to all of you for the impact you've made in calling education.
So I would like also now to reintroduce Mayor Conradi, who is the founder and CEO of Mosaic Community Developments. I'd like to just give you a little bit of a background on Mosaic. It's a unique model, actually. Mosaic believes that the best place for a child to grow up is in a family. Not in an orphanage, but actually living with a house mother, with a family, being mentored and loved in an individual family. And they work every day to make that possible for orphaned and vulnerable children in South Africa. They have 3 focus areas in order to achieve this. They have direct family support. They have operating community centers in the Western Cape, Eastern Cape, and the Northwest provinces. They have partnerships with other organizations to implement its family-based orphan care model across South Africa. And they're very actually innovative. They developed WellBe, which is a software platform that helps NGOs manage and understand their data to make better decisions. To Martin's point earlier is, where is the money being spent? Are we doing the monitoring evaluation, and are we making sure that we do not waste any funds? And that app actually is being used by many of the 12 beneficiaries of the Val de Vie Foundation. And they have a long-term sustainable plan in terms of, they set up an organization called Mosaic Equity, an investment company wholly owned by Mosaic, with a portfolio of South African businesses whose profits help fund its orphan care mission. So Mayor, please tell us more about the role of Mosaic and how the Val de Vie Foundation has made a difference through our resident and funding support.
Thank you, Lorraine. It's such a privilege to be here this afternoon. And I was, as I was sitting there, I was thinking, Martin and some of you guys reflected on where this all started. And I was thinking, where Mosaic started for me was when I was 16 years old. I grew up in a small town called Potchefstroom in the Northwest Province, and I was part of a leadership program that took me to the inner city of Johannesburg, where back in the day we visited an AIDS orphanage. And I walked into the one room, there was 6 or 7 babies in little cribs in this orphanage, and being a 16-year-old boy, most of the other boys was outside with the toddlers kicking balls, but for some reason I felt drawn to this room. And I walked into the room, and my eye caught this one girl that was laying there in a crib, and I picked her up. And I will never forget, I was playing with my hand like this with her, and she grabbed my little finger and she grabbed my thumb, and she just pulled my hand in and just held my hand. And as she was holding my hand to her body, I was asking the nurse that was taking care of them, what's her name? How old is she? Thinking, she's a couple months old. The nurse told me she's 2.5 years old. She's HIV positive, probably not going to live much longer. And in that moment, I thought, what did this child do to deserve this? And where is the family of this child? And I think, as a young teenage boy, that seed was planted that something should be done about this. And I think what cemented that for me was when I, in university, started dating, who's now my wife, a social worker student. Louise, my wife, studied social work, and one day she walked into my flat living room, and she's like, I'm busy working on this project, and I'm looking into the effect that AIDS has on South Africa. And back then, one of the biggest side effects of AIDS in South Africa was the number of orphans that it created. And now that was in 2008. the projection was that by 2015, 1/3 of all children in South Africa would be orphaned because of AIDS. Now, luckily, good news is that in 2010, ARVs happened and a lot less people died because of AIDS, but still to this day, we have a massive orphan care, or orphan problem in South Africa. 14% of all of our children in South Africa are orphaned and left vulnerable and are in need of care. 14%, that's a massive number of our kids. And so we believe, and Lorraine touched on that, we believe that these children shouldn't grow up in orphanages. They should be growing up in families. And so that's what we strive to do at Mosaic, is we want to support families who are willing to raise these kids. And over the years, we've set up these 3 community centers where we partner with moms in the township who has the heart, who has the willingness, but not necessarily the resources to raise these kids. And to date, we have about 450 children that's part of our programs. And I must say, when I think of the role of the Val de Vie Foundation, I have to point out, Lorraine, over all these years that you guys have supported us, she's one of the few foundation managers or people involved in foundation that actually came to my house, had dinner, met my wife and my kids. And I really appreciate that. So for the Val de Vie Foundation, it's more than just financial support, it's relationship. And that's something that we really, really value. And relationship over years. And I do want to emphasize that when, like, we work with children and all of us, well, yeah, I think all of us actually speaking here tonight are working with children. And if you want to invest in a child's life, it's not just a, show up one day and then leave. We heard the story of Andre. This is a 10-year project in the making. I had a conversation with one of the first children that my wife and I started working with in Potchefstroom. And just the other day, a Zoom call, because he lives in England now, where he's a qualified social worker.
Wow.
And when he started our programs, he was 9 years old. And it took years for him to get where he is today. And I want to point that out, and that's something that I appreciate about the Val de Vie Foundation, is this, that you guys, first you do development work in a sustainable way through relationship over years. And that's where we are going to see fruit. We're not seeing fruit, going in and out one day and that's it. We see fruit after years and years of laboring, in our communities. And Lorraine has also pointed out something that we are super passionate about, and Martin, I'm so glad you highlighted kind of all the crooks in the NGO. That made me feel so good about myself. But that's something that I'm also personally passionate about, and that's why we developed the software. And at the moment, there's more than 80,000 beneficiaries being tracked through the software platform by, about 130 NGOs across South Africa that are serious about understanding the impact that they are making in the lives of the children that they're working with. And that really excites me to see how the landscape of the NGO world in South Africa is busy shifting. We're moving away from just handing out sandwiches to really work with programs that's scientifically developed, backed by data, and understanding the impact that we are having and how to tweak those models. So very, very proud to be part of this industry. Very grateful for partnerships like yourselves. And thanks for being here tonight, showing up in this moment.
It actually was a real privilege to be invited to your home and meet your many children.
It's only 5.
It's only 5, okay. Because he practices what he preaches and has a wonderful array of the most beautiful children who are loved and cared for. And they always say that the world needs a father, and every child needs a father role model. And what you do is it's inspirational. So we have so many inspirational people here today, and I want to complete this particular panel with Stefan Howells, who is, as I mentioned, the director of SCORE, and on the executive of Hope Through Action. And the Hope Through Action Foundation's mission is to empower children and young people to realize their potential through sport and education. Education was added a little bit more recently than the original intent, which was back in 2010 with the first opening of Bokweni. They are our lead partner in the at-home learning program as a result. So they do this through three focus areas: providing safe spaces. And I know that once somebody asked Stefan, how do you feel, because you used to work more in the rural community, and he said, you know, having a building for children to come to is such a privilege because they are safe, they're secure, they are mentored and monitored, and it shows the care and passion of Hope Through Action. So providing safe spaces for participation in sports and recreation, providing sustainable learning pathways for children and youth, and reducing youth unemployment. Since 2010, Hope Through Action has built 3 sport and education centres in Bokweni, Franschhoek and Malmesbury, which are managed and operated by SCORE, their program delivery partner. In addition, Hope Through Action, the Val de Vie Foundation actually asked Hope Through Action back now in 2020 to lead our marquee program that we have with called At-Home Learning that we run when we're involved with in terms of the Western Cape Education Department and of course with the Hope Through Action being the lead partner. This program supports over 7,500 learners with mentoring. Support currently implemented across the whole Western Cape. It started with a pilot with Kula back in 2020 with 50 mentors, and today they have 600 mentors through the entire program. So Stefan, please tell us a little bit more about Hope Through Action and the relationship that you have with the Val de Vie Foundation and the impact it's made.
Thank you so much, Lorraine, and thank you so much. It's a great honor to be with all of you here tonight. When I walked in, I saw a lot of familiar faces, and I realized that some of you I met years and years ago, and that is quite amazing, but it says a lot. And then I sat here, and I saw the hands behind me, the 2 hands. You can see it just faintly. And I was struck by Madiba's words, it's in your hands. But I was also struck by how hands are a symbol of reaching out, and they're also a symbol of togetherness. It's not an accident that I'm sitting with these guys. We migrated to Welby this year. Our Franschhoek netball team was playing against their PAL school on Wednesday, and I went and watched. We worked on the at-home learning program together. We've worked with Kerry and his Proclaim team on camps and concerts together. And of course, Nation Builder is our partner. We've done a lot of work to try to expose the good work that is done in our communities. So I want to start by saying that I think one of the things people haven't said is that the Val de Vie Foundation has been very instrumental not only in supporting in terms of finances, but also in supporting networking and really making partnership a reality between organizations that are all involved in this valley to make a difference. And that was your vision. Your vision was to make a difference in this valley, and you're doing that. And I'm grateful not just for the funding but also for this network, which has enabled Hope Through Action and SCORE to grow and to learn as an organization, and therefore to do our work better. We are tremendously privileged to have 3 safe spaces for children that struggle in these communities. And I'm not going to go through everything, but the last time I sat in this room, Philip was invited to speak. And one of the touchy issues was, so what difference do you make as Hope Through Action? And I thought, well, I better be prepared this time. So I've got my numbers. Lorraine's already mentioned some, but Welby is helping us to keep track. And we had 20,211 participant engagements in sport monthly over the last 3 months.
And that was with about just less than 900 individuals who were involved in organized sport every afternoon, coached. It's giving those kids a chance, first of all, for access, then to form teams. Teams are places of trust. And you saw that coach wearing the yellow shirt that said it isn't actually about sport. So yes, we moved to education, formal education later, but it was always about education. It was just education outside of schools. It was about life skills, leadership skills, trying to take leadership in your own life and trying to make a difference in your little circle. Ryk Neetling came many years ago to visit us, and I'll never forget. And some of the guys that celebrated the 15th anniversary of the Mbokweni Center the other day came to me and asked about him, because they remember when he came and inspired them as an Olympic athlete who went to Mbokweni, of all places, and spoke to them. And Ryk isn't just the guy who speaks about his experiences. I've seen Ryk do the sack race with kids. They won. I've seen... I've recalled that long journey. So in sport, when we first built in Mbokweni, we focused on soccer. We had an external evaluator that came in and said, "You've done great work with boys and with football, but you're hopeless with girls. What does your sustained support and the support of all our donors help us to do?" Mbokweni now consistently averages more than 50% female participation across all sport. That's quite something. We're very grateful for that. We have a lot of work still to do in Franschhoek, but we've managed over those years to make that difference. My first time in this ballroom was when I came for a polo match that Prince Harry played at. And I swear one of the young women that came with us from Mbokweni hasn't washed her hands since, shaking Prince Harry's hand. But at that table sat a lot of dignitaries, including Philip Green, the Crown Prince of Lesotho, Prince Harry. They were waited on, they were served by a young man who was part of our Brothers in Action Life Skills program, who was given a job here. And I saw Simone here somewhere earlier. She was instrumental in helping make that happen. And so it's those kinds of little things that are huge things, the differences that you've made. And so before I end with a little story that tells you a bit more about what we do and how we do it, I want to thank the residents of Val de Vie, as well as the foundation, because you contributed by giving a simple stationery pack to a child that enabled them to do their homework, that they otherwise wouldn't have been able to do. You contributed by giving a ball that enabled a team to practice, a team at school to play. You contributed by giving a bicycle that your kid didn't need anymore, and have now created a passionate cyclist in Franschhoek who not only cycles to work, but cycles everywhere on weekends. You contributed to giving joy at Christmas to children that actually don't know what Christmas is. In fact, Christmas time is a terrible time for a lot of children because the schools are closed and there's no feeding scheme. And you know what's done with the precious little money, unfortunately, in many homes. It's used for celebration, which is a euphemism for substance abuse. And it's one of the most vulnerable times for children. But you are able to take those children and provide them with the joy, the spirit of joy that Christmas is all about. Thank you for those of you who have been reading to a child and joined us on Mandela Day, for those of you who just played games, for those of you who painted faces, for those of you who were part of making sure they didn't fall off the jumping castle. Volunteering is partnership made personal. And that is what so many of you do when you come and join us on your outreaches. So I want to thank you not only for the continued support that has enabled us to make certain changes. I left out some statistics, Mr. Green.
I think we're
out.
on time.
68% of our interns progressed towards work or further studies last year. In last year, 47% of our, there was a 47% improvement in I can't even read my own writing, improved contact for caregivers with their schools for our at-home learning kids. And there was a 72% improvement in school kids getting to school on time. I want to end, sorry Lorraine, with the guy that led the icebreaker. I met that young guy when he was a kid, and that kid is he around? He's not. That kid, you guys don't tell him that I'm telling this. That kid was basically the guy who was the drug runner for older kids in gangs. He was on his way out. He had no mother, he had an alcoholic father, he had a horrible home. He couldn't see, so he never graduated, never got his matric because he couldn't see the board because he has bad eyesight. He got engaged with us as a kid in school, and we put him through a bunch of leadership and life skills programs. We then sent him to a different province and asked him to volunteer somewhere else. And when he came back, we engaged him in Franschhoek as a coach. That child went from a soccer player to a netball player to a volleyball player. He went from a soccer player to a soccer coach, a netball coach, a volleyball coach, and an aerobics instructor. He was selected to manage the Western Cape Cranes to go to play in the national championships. When he was working for us in Malmesbury, she's going to interrupt me now, she's going to cut me off. When he was posted to our other center in Malmesbury, when he set it up, he said, I need to go back to Franschhoek. I said, why? He said, I'll do mentoring for you in the at-home learning program, but I need to go back to Franschhoek because my child is there and the mother of my child is there. I want to be the father to my child that I never had. Your support is helping us raise a lot of young men like that and a lot of young women that are making that difference in their communities. And with that, I just want to thank you so much for your sincere support, for your partnership, for your volunteering, and for your care, because you make Ubuntu a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Stefan. So now we're leaving the best for last. So we have the ladies who are joining us on the stage. Since 2000, MCM Miklat has played a major transformational role in building peaceful, sustainable communities in the Cape Winelands and the Drakensberg region. Through holistic, sustainable programs, namely education, nutrition, skills, training, and job creation, they empower impoverished families to experience healthy, fulfilling lives. So Alicia, please tell us a little bit more about the role of Miklat and how the foundation has worked with you, both in terms of the support of the volunteers and our financial support.
Thank you, Lorraine, for the opportunity. Thank you, Val de Vie Foundation, and all the residents for your caring hearts. I feel so at ease tonight because I grew up on a wine farm just across the river. So I swam in this river, which is your borders. I actually rode with my horse in this river. So I feel so at ease here. Thank you for beautifying our valley, Martin. I also listened very carefully when Martin spoke. And 26 years ago, I received a calling to invest in people's lives, especially our youth and children, because that is our future. That is our new leaders for tomorrow. And I'm so privileged to be in MCM because this is the platform where we build a new generation with godly principles who can be our future leaders one day. And I'm very thankful for the funding that we receive from you. Thank you, Lorraine, for your partnership, for your friendship, and just believing in what we do. And we have so much beautiful stories. The funding that we received from you as residents, I can testify that went directly, that is my M&E, that went directly to the teachers' salaries and to the kids whose parents cannot afford to pay the school fees. So that is a huge privilege because we don't send any kid away who cannot pay. And that is where the foundation comes in. Thank you so much because the kid didn't make that decision. The child didn't make that decision. It's parents who are neglecting their children. So we are very fortunate that our school did very well this year. We grew to 74 kids. Next year we will be in the 80s. We enlarged some of our areas in our community center in the school. And we also got a call from the department this week, Department of Basic Education, to ask if we can enlarge our school to grade R, 2 classes of grade R. And we grabbed that opportunity and said, yes, we will do that, because we are so fond of the kids and we want them to excel in school. So that is why we want them a year longer with us, and this is very precious for us. Then the other thing that I want to mention is that our vision is to walk the walk with our young adults, because that is where our future lies. And tonight we are so privileged to have Kurt Vlok in the room. Kurt Vlok, Kurt, you won't mind if I mention this. Kurt was the leader of one of our youth gangs. They fought and actually made war in front of our community center. And in 2016, I decided I want to see the war. And then when I drove up to our center, I saw the mothers were sitting on crates lining out the battlefield. And that was how bad the atmosphere, how dark the atmosphere in that area was. And I realized that we as children of God, we have the power in ourselves, which God erected Jesus from the dead. We have that power in us. And I said to myself, today I go with that power. And, coming from a farm, I know how to drive a tractor. I know how to drive a lorry. So I just drove into those crates. And the women, the mothers fell into the war zone. And then I shouted at them and said that if you are a mother, then you will take your child, put him in school, dress him perfectly for school, and see that your child gets education. And that never happened again. And then we started to work with these gangsters. We invited them into our center. We put them in the gym. We put them on the bikes and weights. It was a real boere trick, like they say. We drained the energy. We cooked a meal for them, because we already have this cook in the kitchen who cooks for the crash kids. So we cooked a meal for them, and they started a drama and creative writing school in the hall. And Kurt was the leader. He decided first to quit the gangs, and then 14 followed him. And through Kurt's just this intervention and that was one of the speakers said, that if you just can make, I think it was you, Martin, if you can make one difference, but the whole community actually gained from that. So there's no youth gangsterism anymore in front of our building or in the Paarl East area. And Kurt is our, like we say, spoegperd, pronkperd. He's really our guy who stands out. And next year, he will study at the Cape Audio College in Mowbray as a sound engineer. And we are so fortunate to be in partnership with International Cultural Exchange in Poland. And they built us a state-of-the-art recording studio. So tonight I want to invite you, if you want to record your songs, if you want to record anything, this is entrepreneurship. Not to only be dependent on donations, but also to gain your own money, to make your own money. So we rent out space, studio space, and we are so thankful for the sewing center, which now actually blooms. We have 7 industrial machines, we have 11 domestic machines, and we are in partnership with Work for the Living at Christchurch. So first, the student goes to Christchurch, they do the Work for the Living course, which prepares them for the workplace. And then they come to us, we teach them domestic do machine work. Then we put them on the industrial machines, and when they did finished their course, then we placed them at factories like Genuine Connection and Stitch SA, who does canvas stitching. So this is just to show that we really empower our youth, and our youth is really our future for tomorrow.
Thank you, Alicia. Thank you so much. I'd like to introduce you now to Delian Labuskaghni, who is the Relationship Manager for Kula Development Group. Kula Development Group is a non-profit organization with a clear mission to prevent school dropout amongst primary school learners. Not school dropout from high school, but primary school, from under-resourced communities in South Africa. They work with learners from grade R to grade 4, where their educational journey begins. By targeting the root causes of disengagement at an early stage, they invest in the education and development of these young minds and help them realize their potential. Delian, please tell us your story.
Thanks so much, Lorraine. Yeah, thank you everybody for being here. It's really a wonderful privilege. My story actually started, I'm a qualified social worker, but I was at the stage in my life where my husband was working as portfolio manager, so it was not necessary for me to work. But it seemed that all the street children of Paul seemed to know where I was living, so they were all coming begging at my door. And as a social worker, I knew I was not supposed to hand out money, but that's what I did. I handed out my husband's salary at the door. But I just kept praying, Lord, there has to be an answer to this problem of these young children who're supposed to be at school, but they're walking the streets, they're sitting on the corners, they're begging. It's still the same today. But at that specific stage, I got involved with Kula, was actually started by another social worker in Paul. But I met 4 women through her. And one day, just by mingling with them and trying to support them, I went into the prayer room with them. And once we entered the prayer room, suddenly they would just fall on the floor and they all start crying and pouring out their hearts before the Lord because of what's happening in their community and what's happening to their children. And you know, I always say that you stand in church and you say, Lord, open the eyes of my heart, or break my heart for what breaks yours. And I was so privileged, I didn't know this community. But I grew up with a mother that taught me these words when we were driving. She would always say, by the grace of God, that could have been me. So I was challenged by these words, and I asked these women, okay, now I can't be privileged and sit in my comfort zone. I have to get out of my comfort zone. I started walking the squatter camps, getting to know Paul East and the whole community, and then become more involved in Kula. And then suddenly, I think it was at the end of 2014 or the beginning of 2015, I actually asked Simone now before she left. We couldn't remember, but Sarah and Simone came to visit Arends and myself at our previous offices in Triangle Park, and they came with this idea of maybe supporting organizations in our valley through a foundation that they will start for Val de Vie. So that was actually the first investor or partner that really believed in what we were doing, that helped us and built trust in us that this cause that we are actually spending our lives on is actually a worthy cause. So Simone also donated the first Kula car, which is now exactly 10 years old this April, when I turned 60. So what happened was, after the initial partnership with the Val de Vie Foundation, we saw the tremendous growth of the foundation, and then I met Lorraine. She came on a Kula tour, and we just became friends, and I just saw her heart for the community. I always tell her, you've got such a beautiful heart for the community. whenever I received a phone call from Lorraine, I would know, okay, there's going to be a lot of hard work, but something's going to happen. So yeah, what Kula does currently is we work with children in underprivileged schools. We train teachers in all the risk factors for children at risk of dropping out of the school system. Then these children get referred to us. Val de Vie Foundation donated 2 classrooms. We've got 9 classrooms at 9 different schools where we work with occupational therapy intervention, social work intervention. These children can't afford occupational therapy. Social workers are overworked, underpaid, understaffed at the designated child protection organizations. So what we do is we fill that gap. The children in our schools that are referred to Kula has an IQ less than 80. They can only go to the special schools if they have an IQ of about 30. So the children between 30 and 80 with an IQ are the children that are begging on our streets. We are a tourism town. We want to be proud of our town, proud of our valley, but our children are begging on the streets. So thank you very much to the Val de Vie Foundation for supporting us, believing in what we do. It's not just the Christmas parties, Lorraine. It's not the Mandela Day things. It's not raising support and volunteers for Kula. I think the central thing is the trust that you put in us as an organization, the belief, the support whenever any one of you come to visit our organization. It's that trust that builds us up and help us to get out of bed every single morning to go and work with the children that God entrusted to us to help.
So last but not least on the panel, we have Tony Krobler, who's head of social investment at Nation Builder and our partner at the Val de Vie Foundation. Nation Builder aims to promote a resilient, thriving and sustainable social sector where non-profits and social investors work together to achieve collective impact. I think that's the point Martin made earlier. They have 2 main strategic focuses, facilitating a membership network of like-minded organizations working in the social impact sector and consulting on and managing effective social investments for corporates, trusts, foundations, and philanthropists. So Tony, tell us a little bit more about Nation Builder and your relationship with the Val de Vie Foundation.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. I think when you call me by my maiden surname, I'm like, oh, that's how long it's been. You've seen me as a single woman, a married woman, and a mom now. That's how long this relationship has been. So thank you so much for having me be a part of this to just give testimony to what has been happening. I want to stick to my time limit here because I can talk on and years about all the wonderful things that has happened through the 10 years. So I think the biggest thing is the role of the Val de Vie Foundation has played is understanding the need for capacity development for the nonprofits that you fund. I think it's really difficult to sometimes explain to people what is capacity development or capacity building, that it's not just the financial contribution, that it's that extra layer of equipping them and training them and skilling these people that work at these nonprofits. So that's our aim, to capacitate and then to strengthen nonprofits. I love what Martin said about sustainability. I think it's so easy in business to talk about succession plans and, what's this 5 years, 10 years like? And we want to, plant the seed in these nonprofits that let's start thinking like that. And that's one of our main capacity building programs that the Val de Vie Foundation has really elevated. If I may touch on 2, which is just 2 of many, but we run a program called Ask a Professional, where we get an expert to speak to nonprofits, and it'll be on a topic, and we will ask them, what do you need most help in, for example, and we'll get the professional in. And if it's around, the tax legislation that's changing in our country, and the SARS and this and that, because some of these staff members have multiple hats on, and they need to, understand what's going on with SARS, and what do they need to do with this submission. We get an expert in, and they equip the people that work in these nonprofits. And perhaps the next topic is AI. How can we utilize AI in nonprofits? And we get an expert in, and they equip the staff of these nonprofits to elevate the work that they're doing, to strengthen the impact that they're doing. And another program I actually want to mention, because I saw Gretchen and Naomi sitting here, but our social worker initiative that we have. I've grown a huge love for social workers and the work that they do in the nonprofit sector, but they need to maintain their CPD points in order to remain professional, and those points are really, really expensive. So we assist them with our social worker initiative to maintain these points with the Kula Development Group and the Northwest University, and we make these points available to the ladies by means of a networking breakfast. And Naomi knows who works in Wellington and in Franschhoek because she sits with these other social workers. They support one another, and it really, really helps. And that's what the Val de Vie Foundation has done. They understood the need for this, of all of that. And we're super, super grateful for the understanding and the value that goes beyond the financial contributions, and to entrust us to help implement that into the communities.
Thank you so much, Tony. Thank you, ladies, for a wonderful, wonderful panel. So it's my pleasure now to offer thanks and call out those who've made today actually happen. An event like today would never have happened without the joining of hands and support of everyone. From our Val de Vie residents, through to our dedicated marketing team, the Val de Vie Foundation trustees, and the support of our HOA, we have demonstrated the impact of all working together for the state and the community. Thank you, Martin, for leading the way with your vision so many years ago. We'd like to personally thank the key people from the various teams who've helped make it possible, from leveraging all their contacts to donate to today, and negotiating really special deals where donations were not possible. You are amazing. This event would not have happened without the incredible collaboration of this entire team of people, where it's been an event that has not just been, let's leave it to management, it's actually been the residents who have driven the event. So the thank yous that I would like to specifically do are, first of all, to thank James Adams, who is a resident here at Val de Vie, and full disclosure, our next door neighbor, who is the CEO of Touch Sports, a leading sports management company focusing on rugby. He literally chased the Springboks around the world to help get this video. One thing I learned about the Springboks, we all see them playing and it all looks very cool and everyone's in the team and everything, but you actually realize they're on planes most of their life. So to James, a great vote of thanks. Thank you to our Team 10. It was referenced by Fred earlier on. Team 10 comprises a passionate group of residents plus Val de Vie marketing, working together and showcasing how we as residents are giving back in terms of volunteerism and financial support. So the resident volunteers who I would really like to thank are the team that helped with the strategy and planning for today and helped source the beautiful furniture for the stage. There are Vanessa Barnes, Sherry Smith, Colette Swallopool, Marina Roper, Linda McCaskill, and Taryn Schiller. Thank you, ladies, for all that you have done to make this happen. I've heard my name a lot tonight, but actually it's the team that did it, because for us there is no I in team. We'd also very much like to thank Val de Vie Marketing and Events. To those dedicated team of people who support this whole foundation, it's an incredible privilege to work with you. None of this would happen without the support of the Val de Vie marketing team. and the professionalism. But I would like to call out a few names of people who've put so much effort into tonight. So from Christian Kutsia, who's the account manager, who helped coordinate this entire event and sourced donor supplies. I think his girlfriend thinks that he's got another girlfriend on the side, because I think I got a call about 6 o'clock every night about status of what was going on. To Esme Robertson, who designed all these beautiful signage here today. I mean, the work is incredible. We're so proud of it. And I'm going to beg the HOA to give us just a tiny little space somewhere in the HOA where we can actually display these, so that if people want to know, people say to me, so where do we come and visit you in your office? And I go, I work from home, I'm a volunteer, but we'd like a little space where we can put these amazing memories of the last 10 years, and people can go and have a look at their leisure. So, Esme, thank you, it's beautiful. Stefani Fourie from Appointed Events, who has negotiated much of what you see here today free from our suppliers. Today nearly didn't happen. When we put the budget together, we all went, there is no ways. We don't spend money on doing fancy events. We spend money on the community, because that's our mission. And we were able to bring in suppliers who came in and did the most amazing support for us. But I have a very special call out to somebody from the Val de Vie marketing team, and his name is Daniel Simon. So, when I was reading this to my husband this morning, I did have a little tear, and he told me I've just got to smile. But Daniel has selflessly worked with the foundation and has captured all the wonderful history of the last 10 years in pictures and video for what we see here tonight. He stood on Wendy's sports field, attended every Christmas party, Mandela Day, and residence tours. Plus, he has created memorable videos and given of his time to the foundation after hours and weekends. We salute you, Daniel. And finally, of course, Marlie van Skalkwijk, who's head of marketing and brand for the Val de Vie Group, plus Ryk Neertling, marketing director and shareholder of the Val de Vie Group, without whom we would not have been given the direction to celebrate these 10 years, and we are so grateful for that. Also, we would like to just thank a couple of our suppliers, to Raphael Chevalier-Beck, managing director of Back's Restaurant, who donated the delicious Fairview wine that is we're being serving here this evening, together with Ryk Neertling, who supplied the Polo Club wine, a special vote of thanks. And I hope that you will all, before you go home, if you just take a moment, talk to the beneficiaries and enjoy it with a nice glass of wine, because I am going to enjoy my glass of wine. And to Gary Hoffman at Super Sign and Eugene Knutzer at PSS 7 Signage, who very generously provided all this printed signage you see here today at literally no cost. And finally to Driven, who co-sponsored the entire staging today. We are really, really grateful. And of course, the thank you must go to our beneficiaries, without whom we are nothing. You are the ones who work with the community day to day, and it's sometimes I think people feel that we live in a bit of a bubble here at Val de Vie, and that we play polo and we drink champagne and whatever, which we do and we enjoy. But we know that outside these gates, that life is harder, and every single day you go to work and you meet with gangsters and you change the lives of children and you teach life skills through sport, and without you, we are really nothing. So I want to thank all of you, and we have 12 beneficiaries. We couldn't showcase you all tonight, but I really do want to thank all of you. So as we wrap up this evening, I'd like to remind us all why we do what we do, and tell the parable of the starfish. How one individual can make a difference in the world even when faced with an overwhelming problem. And the parable goes this way. A person is walking on the beach after a storm, and they see someone picking up countless starfish which have been washed ashore and throwing them back in the ocean. And that person asks this man, "Why are you throwing the starfish back into the ocean? As there are so many, it's futile. Why are you bothering?" And the man said, and he picked up the one starfish and he threw it back into the ocean. And he said, "It made a difference to that one." We all have the power to make a difference, even to just one person, through the work we do at the Val de Vie Foundation. Let's all try to make a difference to that one. Thank you very much.
I think Lorraine and your team, thank you so much for this evening. It's been a truly powerful testimony to the work that you've sunk so much time into over the last decade. It's really incredible what you've done and what you've achieved. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. And then, just to close out, there is still time if you'd like to get a glass of wine and to speak to the beneficiaries here. And a final thank you of the evening. Thank you to all for attending this evening and for sharing this with us. It's been great. Thank you.